There's people from Indiana and Casteltepeque, and like, right?
To me, as a poet is someone who has extraordinary senses.
It's a tool that you can use to better understand yourself and understand your world.
This was one hell of an experience, something I'll never, ever, ever forget.
This is Jonathan's neighborhood. His home is one of the places where our Indiana poets are staying. A makeshift opening in its tin roof provides some relief from the heat. His 88-year-old grandmother, Cleotilda, cooks a daily breakfast of beans, cheese, and plantains. These are like a tough banana, and when cooked are served as we would serve potatoes. The wall of Jonathan's room reveals a bright future. He's just graduated from law school. Jonathan is also a poet, and he lives for a cause.
Children of my homeland, forgotten by the laws, starving and exploited, murdered by being battered, slaves of crack and misery. The children of my homeland, those who have the right to the cold of the grisly city, to the hate and denial of passers-by, scattered with the honk of a passing car.
The bitter landscape drawn by Jonathan's words does not seem possible on a day like this. There are journeys of discovery being made all over this classroom, but with an unusual epiphany for JL.
I was born in Japan, and I came to this country when I was only 2 years old. It just took me back because the thought crossed my mind, this is how my mother felt when she came from Japan and was plopped in the middle of the Midwest and didn't know the language very well or the culture. It struck me that she had struggled, and now I'm struggling.
What I want you to do is to go and each line and pick out one.
Nothing breaks the ice like play, and nothing spurs writing like the visual. JL and Phoenix show their students a new game.
We would string up these words, and they would take these words back down in random order so that you have somebody else's words, and you're forced to come up with a line, maybe an image. Here the kids got a chance to really discover on their own, and that's important, to discover on your own the joys of poetry.
You could see in their faces that they understood what we were trying to pull out of them. If you imagine the world as a soccer ball and you kicked it up into space, what would that look like? And one of the students said that they could see stars bursting in the sky. I like that. I think what really made me go wow was at the end of the workshops how all the children wanted your autograph. I was like, oh, I'm a star.
But the early afternoon brings with it the real breakthrough. While helping to paint murals along the town square adorned with poetry written by his Hoosier guests, Jonathan adds to the excitement by announcing his plans to make student poetry workshops a permanent fixture in Casteltepeque.
We have learned a lot from you. For example, there were certain techniques or tools within the poetry that we didn't know. So we really can start teaching these tools to another kids or even other workshops to improve the poetry. Sorry, I'm pretty nervous.
Marvin and Jonathan know that once Casteltepeque was a traditional haven for Salvadoran writers. It is this rich literary past that they hope to reconnect with. This is Camilo. He is founder of a cultural center for budding artists named for his great-grandfather, a journalist who passionately wrote about justice and social change under the name Kino Caso.
Camilo, the painter, points at me, telling me he likes my poem. Surreal, he mutters, as he washes the wall in yellow before silently sketching the scene. Camilo, the planter, offers chaparro, a potent liquor that goes down easy, like rain falling on his bonsai trees, twisted and tortured to grow in rock, a vision of Japan and another volcanic land.
It is on his strong shoulders that this next generation of Quesaltepeque's riders is standing, and Kinokaso reflects Camillo's own spirituality and eclecticism. This fascinates his visitors.
Much of his work was surreal, and there was that sort of magical realism and surrealism that is what I think part of that Latin culture anyway. You saw in his house he had the big Mayan god type figures.
The bonsai's roots travel deep into waters of smoke, where history's bones send up their dreams and nightmares. One hand reaches up while the water falls like 1,000 ghosts, and through this, a bridge surfaces to join the bonsai's branches to the mountain's size.
Listen, hear me. The rocks flex thick torsos to the sun. The blue angel examines the lattice skin of leaves. Sacred ponds with their wells of wisdom flow towards the magical.
I felt particularly connected to him. Someone took a photo of us one night, and I thought of him as a very large man in my brain. In my brain, I had thought of him as being someone somehow bigger than life. And there I stand next to him, and I tower over him. There was a lot of power in that guy.
When we founded the place, the phenomenon was that it attracted young people. It attracted young writers, the place, and painters that are looking for the same goal that we've been looking for, to make a better world. We're talking about social problems not through like mass media. We're using a pencil or pen.
A myriad of faces have been etched into the memories of our poets, for the introductions have been many, but perhaps for none more so than for Joyce, who has had the pleasure of meeting two Salvadorans who are unforgettable.
It's an almond, Cholito. Oh, it's so bueno.
This is Cholito, who, while quite at home with the women in the group, and with the child who is his constant companion, does not have much use for cameras or cameramen. He also does not have much use for the cage that holds him.
As much as I loved my family, I really felt sorry for the monkey. And I know they loved it, and they were very, very sweet to it. But at night, it would start grabbing that cage, and it would just be beating on that cage. I would have liked to have seen poor Cholito be free. Freedom is a bird that roosts where trees retain their language. She calls to them this night before the sickle moon. Her words expand with hope. She feeds the starving beggar, but cheats the white-faced monkey beside the lemon tree.
The gentleman who's spinning is making $15 a day. The other workers here are making $7 to $10 a day. The minimum wage in El Salvador is around $6 a day. The legal minimum wage. Most people don't make the minimum wage.
It's not the poorest place that I have ever visited, but it is one of the richest places I think I've ever visited, from the standpoint, again, of just the human spirit and sharing. Do you remember when we were out at the pottery place, and you remember the lady who sold us candy? You know, I was touched by her, and felt, you know, very sorry that she had to live in the conditions that she did, and that anybody had to live in those stalls. But by the same token, I don't think I'll ever forget her smile.
In our story, you met Beth Tillman, a Brebeuf grad from Indianapolis who came up with the idea of this cultural exchange and who was one of our poet's translators. Major changes have come to Beth's life since a hurricane hit El Salvador shortly after Joyce Brinkman and company left. You'll explore the new direction Beth's life has taken in the final episode of our trip to El Salvador in a few weeks. And now it's Sharon's turn to take over. Sharon, you come